ICSI is a statutory body and not a parish council which needs to meet every week, but this should be known, and you should keep. So I'm very happy on when Bishop Peter Paul, previously when Trasalti was here, wherever he was, he would go and meet the bishop of that area, Archbishop or Cardinal. And that's the way we get ourselves known. Now you see, my talk is on a topic which helps us to understand our role as secular institute members. And this is the wonderful ICSI picture which we took a few days ago. So this is your job after listening to this talk. This is our Professor Giuseppe Lazzati. He was a professor of ancient Christian literature and he was the founder of our institute. And my talk is entitled Epistle to Diognetus and its Importance for Members of Secular Institutes. And you can see here, Professor Lazzati, from this Epistle to Diognetus, he got his understanding of the lay vocation, secular institutes, and secularity. By the way, it was a long period, about 20 years or more, before the Holy See allowed secular institutes, and Professor Lazzati was one of them. So, he got his insights from this beautiful document. Now, what is this Epistle to Diognetus? It is actually a beautiful, noble defense of the Christian faith. It is ancient Christian literature of the 2nd century, and it basically encourages Christians to live their vocation and fight and differentiate themselves from paganism and Judaism. Now, who is the author? Who is the recipient? So the author is supposed to be Matthias, a disciple of Saint John. Because when you read the letter, you will find that there's lots of references, cross-references to Saint John, the apostle, the great apostle of love, and the teacher of the Gentiles. Whereas Diognetus is you and me. Basically, Diognetus is a philosopher who tutored Marcus Aurelius. These are one of the leading philosophers of those ages. So we know the author is unknown, the recipient is unknown, the location where it was found is unknown. But what was very striking here, can you believe it, that this document was used to wrap food and it was found almost thrown in a fish market. And someone rescued the document and then there were lots of printouts. The original document has got burned somewhere, but this is the manuscript. So what is the author, Matthias, trying to tell us in this one line? I'm just a nobody trying to tell everybody about someone who can save anybody. Now who is that? That is Jesus Christ the Lord. Now if you see the index or the contents of the epistle, by the way, some call it a letter. So we see that there are about 12 chapters. The last part, 11 and 12, is a type of an epilogue because the style of language changes. But 5th and 6th are the chapters which pertain to secular institutes very dearly. Why? Because it tells us about the lay vocation. So I begin reading part of those chapters. The manner of the Christians. For the Christians are distinguished from other men neither by country, nor language, nor the customs which they observe. For they neither inhabit cities of their own, nor employ a peculiar form of speech, nor lead a life which is marked out of any singularity. They do not proclaim themselves the advocates of any merely human doctrine because we have the faith in Jesus Christ the Lord. So you see the important points here. Christians are lay persons, not distinguished by language, custom, speech, nor advocates of human doctrine. But inhabiting Greek, now Greek is a very advanced city as well as evil cities, barbarian, where there is killing and murder. According as the lots of each of them are preserved, and following the customs of natives in respect to food, clothing, and the rest of ordinary conduct. We wear ordinary clothes, secular institute members, and display to us their wonderful and confessedly striking method of life. What is important is not your dress and your watch, but your life within you, your consecration. They dwell in their own countries, but simply as temporary residents, because our home is in heaven. So they inhabit all Texan cities, follow the customs and dress, food, wonderfully striking, holy way of life, dwell as temporary residents. As citizens, they share in all things with others, and yet endure all things as foreigners. Even foreign land is to them their native country, and every land of their birth as a land of strangers. You can see missionaries going all over the world. We see Spanish Jesuits, they come to India, make it their home, and finally, and we also, although we are here, we are not too much attached to this place, we are for everyone. Of course, these two lines, they pertain to married lay people. They marry, as do all, they beget children, but they do not destroy their offerings. They have a common table, but not a common bed. So what is being said here? Oh, sorry. So here, share all things with others. Foreign lands, their native country, and land of their birth, they become strangers. They have children, no abortion. They have a strict moral code, no extramarital relations. They are in the flesh, but they do not live after the flesh. They pass their days on earth, but they are citizens of heaven. They obey the prescribed laws and surpass the laws by their virtuous life. They love all men and are persecuted by all. They are unknown and condemned. They are put to death and restored to life. They are poor, yet make many rich. Poverty. And in lack of things, and yet abound in all, they are dishonored. And yet in their very dishonor are glorified. Here we refer to the martyrs. So we can see the main points, not in flesh, citizens of heaven, obey and surpass laws, love all men, persecuted by all, condemned to death, poor make others rich, lack all things, abound in all, in glory in dishonor are glorified. They are evil spoken of and yet justified. They are reviled and blessed. They are insulted and repay the insult with honor. They do good and yet are punished as evildoers. The greatest is Jesus on the cross. When punished, they rejoice as if quickened into life. They are saved by the Jews as foreigners and are persecuted by the Greeks. Yet those who hate them are unable to assign any reason for their hatred. Evil spoken, reviled, justified, blessed, in honor they are glorified, persecuted for no reason. Now this is the key sentence of this thing. To sum up all in one word, what the soul is to the body, Christians are to the world. From this I got my understanding of what secular institute vocation is. We need not be doing all the while. What the soul is to the body, Christians are to the world. The soul is dispersed through all the members of the body, and Christians are scattered through all the cities of the world. The soul dwells in the body, yet it is not of the body, and Christians dwell in the world, yet are not of the world. So this is a very powerful sentence for you to understand your vocation. You are the soul, the life. You are the soul of the body. That is your role as a Christian in the world. The invisible soul is guarded by the visible body, and Christians are known indeed to the world, but their godliness remains invisible. No external sign of your consecration. The flesh hates the soul and wars against it, though itself suffering no injury, because it is prevented from enjoying pleasures. The world also hates the Christians, though in no wise injured, because they hate pleasure. The soul loves the flesh that hates it, and the members, Christians likewise, love those who hate them. The key words: remain, Christians remain in the world, their godliness is invisible. They hate pleasure, mortification, detachment. They love those who hate them. The soul is imprisoned in the body, yet keeps together that very body, and Christians are confined in the world as if in a prison, and yet they keep together the world. The immortal dwells in a mortal tabernacle, and Christians dwell as temporary residents in corruptible bodies, looking for an incorruptible dwelling in the heavens. So this is all about being in the world and being not of the world. So Christians dwell as travelers, incorruptible body, looking for an incorruptible dwelling place in the heavens. The soul, when ill provided with food and drink, becomes better. In like manner, Christians, though subjected day by day to punishment, increase more in numbers. As we all know, the blood of the martyrs sows the seeds of Christianity. God has assigned them this illustrious position which it were unlawful for them to forsake. Remember that our position as secular members in the world is not just a geographical position, it is a theological position. The Lord wants each layman and laywoman, to be there in the world, to be His presence, to be His instrument, to be His face. So God has assigned them this illustrious position, which if it were unlawful for them to forsake. So don't move away from this vocation, cherish it, guard it. I think I skipped what I said about Professor Daza to secular institutes. For a long time, it was difficult to recognize secular institutes. And now we have it. Full secularity and full consecration. This is your charism, this is my charism, this is our charism. Now we need to know the similarities and the differences between religious and secular institutes. You know, I am not casting any aspersions on any institute or anything. In fact, we also, Secular Institute Christ the King, is learning from other institutes. And ICSI is supposed to be a place of encounter. You know, I remember when I would speak to Dr. Trisaldi, I would say, call this guy to give a talk on the Bible and call this. He said, ICSI is not for the giving talks on, you can call someone, some priest to your institute and give you all the talks on the Gospel of John. It's basically for each of us to encourage each other to live this secular consecration. But I'm not casting inspiration on any other group, because all are on the path to secularity. And for various reasons, culture, whatever. But it's a chance for us to just not say, okay, I've reached the height. No. It's a time where we should look into our way of life. So if you find out the difference between secular institutes and religious, because sometimes the priests and all, they look at you and say, so what? Why are you not like them and why are you not like this? So, secular institutes emphasize the essential goodness of creation, the world, incarnation. Jesus came and was baptized, became human. So we bring more the incarnational aspect. The religious and priests, on the other hand, they emphasize the radical discipleship of Christ, which involves the separation or renunciation from the world. And they left everything and followed Him. We are not leaving anything. We are in the world. But of course, we also have a little bit of this eschatological glamour in us. Now, what is the definition of a secular institute? According to Canon 710, a secular institute is one in which the Christian faithful living in the world strive for perfection in charity and work for the sanctification of the world from within. Very important. A religious institute is one in which the members, according to the proper law, pronounce public vows, either perpetual or temporary, and live in common as brothers or sisters. Canon 607. So we connect this to our letter to Diognetus. They inhabit all cities, follow customs of the people in dress, food, wonderfully striking method of holy life, dwell as temporary residents. Members of secular institutes are to live in the world and work for sanctification from within. As I told you, a policeman in uniform and a police CID who is in Mukti or so from within. being a face in the crowd, being one person in an office working. Whereas religious and priests, they wear the white cassock, which is good. That's their vocation. And you can see that. So they share things with others. Foreign lands are native, land of birth is strangers. Now look at this young lady down there, looking from her apartment, staying in one of these apartments, and contrast that with a religious life. They all pray together, they are in a habit, beautiful, and they live in a convent or a monastery. So secular institutes are lay people living an inconspicuous and ordinary life. They are part of the temporal order, living alone with friends or with family members, and they are recognized as citizens. So if Ivan makes a statement against the BJP, he is making the statement as Ivan. But if father makes the statement, then he is making it as a member of the church. We have a job or profession. If you see the religious only understand, there is a separation from the world, depending. They may be totally monastic, like in a cloistered tower, like we have one here opposite Father Muller's. They live in convents, religious houses. They are identified, as I said, as church people. They have a common life, common works. So I remember at one time some fathers told me, the Jesuits, we have 3 apostolates: formation, parishes and schools. So secular institutes do not have common life. Group life is discouraged as gradually it ends in common life. So especially it's a big challenge for young ladies like you, especially in a very traditional culture. Sometimes it happens that people say, oh, a woman can't stay alone, and therefore they all come together. And you have to be careful that gradually you don't land up as a religious order. Religious have common life, stay together, pray together, pool their finances, do not possess any bank account, no formation houses. So we want to connect Christians well as temporary residents in a corruptible body, looking for an incorporeal dwelling in heaven. Secular institutes act as leaven, as salt, as fragrance. You cannot find out where is the salt in the food, where is the fragrance. A little salt or a little fragrance is so much. Ordinary people, secular profession. The profession is a personal one. They do not withdraw from the world. In fact, you must read Smita's article. She is a member of Anchilia. She has written a thesis on secular institute, and she has described secular institutes as, she gave me that book for my comments and all, and it was a theology of insertion, to be inserted in the world like an ordinary person. Now, some days ago I was talking to my niece and nephew, they were like, asking me, uncle, should we go for this? Someone invited us for some type of a prayer meeting and whatever. So I said, yeah, go. And then we had a big chat. Now, I am having on a daily basis, whenever I go to that place, we always talk about spiritual matters. Very informally. They tell me what happened and I give my insights about it. Should refrain from apostolic commitments which diminish their secular character. Now, secular institutes are meant for to be in the world and to be in places where priests, nuns cannot be. So in fact, I remember once there was a priest who entered politics, and his bishop went after him with hammer and tongs trying to get him back. And he said, come back, come back, come back. He told him, he stopped. He said, you got so much of time to do politics? I cut up your cook for you. So like that. Whereas here, we encourage you. Professor Lazzati was a politician for a small period of time. So there are a lot of people who sometimes go directly into the church activities, pastoral activities. Now again, I'm not condemning anything. I'm saying that we can do pastoral activities in a limited manner. We are not part of the ministerial priesthood. But our main thing is in the world. Sometimes, we ourselves get confused. No appreciation, and people tell you, this I can also do. Go to job, work and come back. So, don't get discouraged. Religious institute is a church activity. It's a public office. If tomorrow the Pope says something, like when the Pope said something vaguely related to Islam, bang bang, 2 nuns will kill someone. Whereas, if Yvonne Rajowski or some Michael de Mello says something, they put it as some citizen of India. They have no private or personal jobs. They work under the obedience of their superiors. The work is collective, and they are under the diocesan vision. There are many secular institute members who have their NGOs and whatever, so I have nothing to say about it. But I remember when we used to discuss with Presaldi, Father Subhash and all, they would say that, see, in a religious order, Don Bosco school, after one principal dies, the next principal comes, but after you, boom. So, it's worth mentioning. And we have people who are holding big institutions of their own. They couldn't even move out of that place because they were so tied up. So, no comments about that, but just, I was asked when I was discerning my vocation as a doctor, where should I be? St. John's Medical College, the most prestigious Catholic institution in Asia, or should I go to a government hospital? By the way, I'm not tapping myself on the back, I was just asking. So I remember Father Subhashi clearly told me, you should be in a government hospital. And I finally landed up in this government hospital. And government hospitals, there's a big rush and crowds and all lost cases everywhere. And so much so, my hospital which I work, it's not the whole time I work there. It's called Sassoon Hospital, and some people call it Daisoon Hospital, because all the lost cases come from everywhere and many of them die also. But then they are not, because we don't treat properly, because they are too advanced. So what I'm saying is, should I be in St. John's with all the holy and holy people and with all the bishops and cardinals, sneak up to the or do I take up the challenge in this corrupt setup, in this imperfect setup, and no one quite lawless type of. So God has assigned them this illustrious position which gave forsake your place wherever you are, however ordinary it is. We were in this ICSI group, and there was one member, lady from, I still remember that testimony, I was so bored by that. She was a postman, now we can call it post women, because we never see post. And she used to go on a bicycle dropping letters. How beautiful. And somebody asked her, so what? And what are you doing for the king? And are you shouting Jesus, praise the Lord, and go along? No, she's not doing that. So, now coming to the vows, bonds, promises. As you had said yesterday, anyway, that vows and promises are almost the same. True. Now here you can see this Romeo, or whatever, he could be a secular institute member. Private, ordinary lay persons, and here, public vows, common life. Which are you closer to? Christians, lay persons, not distinguished by language, custom, dress, don't advocate a merely human doctrine. Next is consecrated chastity, which is all about love. Secular institutes live in the context of an ordinary lay life. Do not wear anything to differentiate them from other persons. I also in my office, we don't wear a cross outside because I probably may be the only Catholic or the Christian in that whole area. So what happened, especially now with BJP around, you may also think you have come to convert people. And there are a lot of troublemakers. So what should happen? I should be such a virtuous doctor, and I should be such a loving person and caring that people should come to me and look at me afterwards and say, what is it and why are you like this? And probably then I would have to tell them who Jesus is. Poverty. Secular institutes earn a salary, choose their occupation. All of us do not have the same salary. So you may be someone who is, once by the way, there were ministers in our institute, and there was a common office model. So they don't have to be the same level. We own properties, our goods, and we have our own personal budget. We contribute to the institute from our salaries and we save money for old age. Whereas religious live in a common life, common residence, common goods, require permission from superiors to choose work. They renounce the possession of material goods. They're not supposed to have, my Jesuit friends tell me, you're not supposed to have any bank account. And they are cared for in their own infirmaries in old age. Tony, how much time do I have? I didn't check.
1 hour.
1 hour. So, yeah. Oh, thank you. So actually, I remember once Father Subhash told me that a member of an institute should be taught how to discern. Should not be told do. Secular institutes must discern from themselves in the concrete circumstances of preparation and secular life. Whereas they are not allowed to accept duties outside without the permission of the superiors. And they have a common life. So if you can contrast the picture on one side and the other side. I remember once I saw Tony going to work. He looked quite handsome, I must say. And he was looking very professional. And even now he is very professional. And I think his company looked up to him and maintained that. So not in the flesh, but citizen of heaven, obey and surpass the laws by their lives. An institute can be established as a clerical or a lay one. So there are priests, members of secular institute. I'm surprised, now they are not there. When I was in ICSI and there was a conference in Seoul and they were all fighting with me for the visa. Institute has a canonical status. Are citizens of Bharat. By the way, now I even heard some Mother Teresa nuns are coming to India, African America, and getting temporary citizenship here. So religious are recognized as church people, and they should, it has a public character. When you see a nun or a priest, in white or whatever, I'm not belittling them, that's their vocation and we want them also. But that is the way it is. So I'm trying to now crystallize. They said, in heaven, there are so many religious congregations, even the Holy Spirit is getting confused. Like, who's come in which order and which one is taking. So, the similar question was asked by the Holy See, what we call the dichotomy of religious and consecrated life. I mean, if you have to accept you all, what is your criteria? I mean, what is it that makes a secular institute? So these are some of those criteria. You can apply it to yourself. An exterior life that does not differ from any other unmarried lay person. Second, no outward sign of consecration. No rosary around the neck, it can be a cross. No uniform. No habit. Living with friends, family, alone or in groups. So initially I was staying in a family bungalow with my father, mother, and dad died, and mommy died. And I was alone in the old place. And we sold that place and then I went into our flat. No common life. We don't pool our money together. We're not all on the same professional level. If he has a car, you need not have a car. They are indistinguishable. Sorry, no common apostolate or works. Now someone told me, be careful, they may kill you if you say this. So, I put it here because this is a controversial thing. Some people do have common works, and some people, some institutes only, they are totally doing individual works. Members of secular institutes are indistinguishable from among whom they work and live with. There are also priests belonging to secular institutes. Again, with all respect to the priests, this was quite a contested topic. And if you meet some of the priests, especially in Kilmes and all, they are big people in the church. So they will give you such an explanation that the theology doesn't come that way. They will explain how priests are also secular and whatever. That means. But don't forget, the most important thing is these lines. What the soul is to the body, Christians are to the world. Or we can put secular institute members are to the world. Actually, I wanted to think. I just want to go back 1 minute to one slide which I probably didn't explain properly. I wanted to carry words of our founder. The first one is Love your institute as something in which your life gets its importance or meaning, and guard its charism with which the Spirit has raised up in the church and which constitutes the whole reason of its existence. This is your charism, the secular form of your consecration, which is called secularity. Do not let novelty make you lose it. You want new things, May your love for it make you capable of updating the forms without touching its substance, and when the needs of a particular situation make it necessary. One of our previous generals, who is now no more, his name was Armando Oberti. He was also promoting the secular institutes. He said this charism is like a polished diamond. It was buried in the earth, now it's been removed, and we are removing all the dust of it and giving it a shine. I have said Tata bye-bye to Pope Francis, and now I am trying to get into the spirituality of Pope Leo XIV. Oh, I love Pope Francis very, very much and all the beautiful things he did. But now, our new Pope is giving up another direction probably. Now I read his whole life, it's so beautiful. And he's from America. You know, never thought people from America are spiritual and could ever be a Pope. They all loudmouth, big topper, and when we look at Trump, we're all scared now. So we are. People thought, I hope the Pope doesn't turn out to be another Donald Trump. But he's a lovely person. And he's an Augustinian. You know Saint Augustine? He was quite a wayward guy. He even had a child out of marriage. But if you read those confessions, I took a summary because I didn't have time to get the whole book. So beautiful about conversion. And one of Saint Augustine's quotes is, which Pope Leo said when he got onto the balcony for the first message to the world. For you, I am a bishop. With you, I am a Christian. This reflects his understanding of his role as leader within the church and his identity as a follower of Christ. So in some way, this beautiful document, Diagnosis, talks about a Christian, and Pope Leo has encouraged this beautiful work, and we should take it to heart and embrace it and make it part of our lives. I think that's all. This logo, I said, Iris won't call me again for a talk they don't speak on. The theme they have chosen: secular members, consecrated persons, harbingers of hope. There's a Father Gerard, if you see there's some YouTube videos, and he gives 3-minute reflections, sometimes and so. And he describes this, in fact, Opus Spiritus. They had a lovely first prayer, and then their KP, Mary's talk, really brought my spirits high. Because they spoke about the Jubilee year 2025. And this logo is very impressive. If you can see down here, the blue thing is supposed to be the church on troubled waters. And These are people from the corners of the earth. The four corners of the earth. Different sizes. And the cross is what they are all hanging on to. Jesus. And if you see, the cross is tilted. That is to give an impression of an embrace. God loves you. God loves the world. And that cross is anchored. And so what a better Jubilee year can we have? And may secular institute members, we and all of us, take an active part in this Jubilee year by internal renewal and reaching out to others. Thank you. This